Good Saturday afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, coming on the air for a severe thunderstorm warning that is remaining in effect for portions of Duval County until 4:30. Talking about areas rolling toward Eastern Duval. So some of those beaches, you're really need to take shelter right now whenever thunder roars go indoors. But this could be even a little bit more than that here, as we do have a situation here where we have the potential for some damaging winds. So this is a warning, a 60-mile-an-hour wind potential with it here. Hail probably not to an inch in diameter, so that's not what the warning is for, but still could have a little bit of smaller hail in here. But we really need you guys to get out of the water right now. I know we had that terrible tragedy last week there in toward Volusia County, where we had the lightning hit. It wasn't even that close to the storm, and we had a fatality, just terrible, just outside of the viewing area. And we need folks right now to get out of the water there on Atlantic Beach and Neptune Beach here. Right now, we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect till 4:30, so you need to take this very seriously here. We do have areas like Mayport, Talbot Island, Craigfield, Little Talbot Island, and Fort Caroline all under this warning. So it's not just about the wind, but about the lightning here as well. This time of year you gotta be really careful. It's a Saturday, it's hot, it's a summer, and we're in a situation here where folks are cooling down. We're near, this next weekend we have, most of the 4th of July festivities, but the holiday is next Friday, so some folks maybe even, on their holiday trips here this weekend, and you really got to be careful. Maybe if you're not from Florida, you're not used to this kind of stuff. We have a dangerous situation. I mean, this happens a lot. This isn't, let's say, anomaly or anything. This happens a lot. But you gotta take heed of it. It can be in isolated instances deadly. I know out toward Bradford and Clay, we had some storminess here as well. I'll go ahead and pull up on here the storm total rainfall. You see some of that more in the ward the Camp Landing area. We had some down there toward Keystone earlier. There's no warning down there as we're looking at things, but you see that red there showing 2-3 inches of rain as we're looking there right around Melrose there. As you're looking there where all the counties come together, 2 or 3 inches of rain. So, that's pretty noteworthy. Right here, East Stark, we could really honestly still use the rain because of the drought. We've only seen here 0.06 inches today, according to my rain gauge, East Stark. But as we go ahead and broaden the view out here, you've seen an advisory toward Flagler County, some advisories, Madison, Brooks, and Lowndes. I know we had all those storms that are really nasty storms on Wednesday toward the areas out toward the Tallahassee counties. We've really had a lot of reports. We were posting about it here. We were working on some stuff. We're on a trip here really as well. And, a situation here. We're back now in toward, areas here of north central Florida with the latest, giving it to you from home base per se. As we go ahead and give you guys the latest here, we're going to go ahead and zoom on in here. You see 42 or so at one point on the wind, but 45 reported around Fort Caroline about 15 minutes ago. There's also been a gust at 403 at 45 miles an hour reported around Kinderloo over in Lowndes County, closer, the word about off the vicinity along I-75. So, again, just trying to give you guys the very latest on what's going on there as we're tracking things, as we're monitoring things here in toward the Weather Center. Let me go ahead and see what we have here as we give you guys the very latest. Of course, we're always on across our area. We didn't have any tornado warning the last week or so, and we hope it stays that way, but we're always on no matter what for any of the tornado warned storms within the 62 counties here. Talking about our region, of course, we had some stuff in North Dakota that ended up being tragic. Even New York State there, nocturnal hours, some big problems, up there with some activity, just deadly type of weather coming on in, which you hate to see. I'm going to look at some of the power outage numbers real quick. Toward Nassau County, about 1,580 customers in the dark. Marion County, 3,291. Duval County, just a handful so far reported, it would seem. I'll go ahead and see if we have anything a little bit more up to date here on what's going on as we're tracking things here Let's see what GEA has. They do have, okay, they have an outage reported. 1,632 customers in the dark now. It's getting over and toward Eastern Duval County, so that's a noteworthy storyline in and of itself there. And we also had, okay, that's down south, but West Central Florida, Polk County, Bartow just had a gust in the last hour at least at 52 miles an hour. That's not in our area though. But some of those cameras, that we could show you some of the activity on. Those are in our area here. So let me go ahead and see some of these Florida 511 perspectives and see how the storminess may look here closer toward the ground level. We don't have anything right at the beach, but let me just show you here. We're going to see a traffic camera right now, a live Florida 511 perspective here as we're looking at the situation. Let me go ahead and show you that here right now, and you'll be able to see what we're dealing with. This is a look here at some of those darker clouds, at least, at I-295 East between Monument and Atlantic there. So that kind of tells that storyline as we're kind of switching between some stuff. Again, that warning goes till 4:30 for parts of Duval County here. Parts of Duval County. So again, I'm just trying to give you guys the very latest on what is going on and what we're tracking here as we're monitoring things right now. So again, very important to do that here, obviously, as we give you a synopsis of things here. I know, just checking all my latest data points here and the like into the Weather Center. We have some different special weather statements popping on up. It's always important to keep our eyes on those. Let me go ahead and zoom back in toward this warned area. Let's get down there, see, I think around the Alhambra Dinner Theater. Let's see if we can pull up some cameras in that vicinity, maybe. See if we can pull something up there. Whoa, this is some dark skies here and some backed up traffic as well. Let's go ahead and pull this live. These are some pretty dramatic images here. I-295 east south of Beach Boulevard. This is a well-defined cloud structure here. I don't see any type of funnel or anything coming down, but we're just going to have to watch to make sure. It's backed up traffic here as well. So we just got to be very mindful here while we're dealing with, again, that Florida 511 perspective. Towing that weather story this afternoon. So, again, you need to be cognizant of that. That's a really well-defined cloud structure here. So let's go ahead and see what else we might have. Let me go ahead and kind of look in that general vicinity, see if there's any even maybe better angles. I kind of hope there's not in a way, because that was pretty dramatic in and of itself there with that cloud cover and the like. Let me see here around UNF Drive, maybe. Not seeing too much with the way this is pointed, and I am seeing a little bit of rain there falling now. You can see some of those wet roads there in that vicinity. As we continue to watch, continue to track here the very latest. I know, just trying to effort everything here for you guys. I know we haven't had those full updates here. We're in that typical pattern for the most part. Wednesday, for instance, was a little bit more nasty, though, around. But I know we still do need that precip in some spots, believe it or not. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the U.S. Drought Monitor, the Florida view on this. So let me go ahead and go over to other source. This is going to be here from, looks like the University of Nebraska, Lincoln here involved with this. So let me go ahead and jump to our other source. And you can see there's some abnormally dry conditions still in parts of north central Florida. Severe drought, though, as we get to reports of Marion County. As of, this was released on Thursday. We had the data valid there through Tuesday. I know we've had some rain around, so that can impact things and the like. It will be, waiting the next update. I know we hadn't had that much rain here to start, though, last week plus. And we still need some more. I know you don't want to maybe disrupt your plans, but we still need it. We could still kind of see that abnormally dry kind of creep back on in here just a little bit. So that's kind of the drought story there. Let me go ahead and I see a little bit of a hook on that storm. Let me just make sure there's no rotation with that. That's outside the warning. There's not a lot of rotation. There may be a tad bit here. Gotta watch out for some downbursts. May get another warning down toward the south here. As we're looking, I know you guys are anxiously awaiting that 4th of July forecast next week. Could have some type of tropical disturbance in the vicinity. It's too soon to kind of know the overall details, though, on that. It's really early. I got to look at the data a little bit more. But we just got a notification in the last few seconds here from the National Hurricane Center about another area that we're watching. It's not an issue for us, but there is an area here of interest over the Bay of Campeche. We've just been told here that the Hurricane Center is going to initiate advisories on Tropical Depression 2 there at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. So we just got that in the last few moments that there's going to be advisories now for Tropical Depression number 2 in the Bay of Campeche. So that's just coming in. We had, in between our thermal updates, we had a very short-lived Andrea out there further out in the Atlantic. That was not an issue. So that was good news, obviously, as we were tracking things, as we were giving you guys the very latest. Barry will be the next name if this were to strengthen beyond a tropical depression. What I'm about to tell you here on our other source. So you can see we have some different model runs here as we're looking, as we're tracking things here. Just trying to give you guys the very latest on exactly what is going on. And you can see here, you can see what we're dealing with. You can see what we're talking about. And we're just going to have to kind of watch here the ongoing scenario. So, again, that's going to be something, though, that's not going to impact us. It could become a tropical storm Barry there and hit parts of Mexico. But that's where you see the model guidance. We'll have some white dots there coming up soon with the official Hurricane Center information. But that's not a big deal, but it's noteworthy. We had Andrea, that was noteworthy, but it was even less of a deal there. It was not even a name there for 24 hours. As we were looking, it was not something that was that big of an issue. So, way out there in the Atlantic Ocean. Let me go ahead and go to this mode here. And we're seeing some development in Bradford County. I noticed a moment ago is trying to sell a little bit of hail, maybe out here around State Road 100. And right now it's a little bit less there, but we'll watch that. We have the severe storm here in Eastern Duval, the Polygon. They just updated that here. Did the Weather Service at 4:15 to saying severe thunderstorms located along a line extending from Mayport to UNF moving southeast at 15 miles an hour. Atlantic Beach, Neptune Beach, Craigfield, Mayport being impacted here. As we're tracking things, as we're monitoring things here this afternoon. So again, we're tracking that situation very carefully there. Whenever thunder roars, go indoors, but some of that wind could cause some damage to roof side and trees. The wind is what is a criteria for this thunderstorm warning, not the electrical activity, not the lighting, not those cloud to ground strikes that could impact you, your friends, and your family. There's very isolated instances that, could be, even, if they're striking, then when they're striking, it could be deadly. But, that's isolated. Doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. We have it pretty much every year. A number of fatalities in the state of Florida. So it is a lighting capital here, really, the state. And you just got to be very cognizant of the electrical energy here. You just got to be very cognizant. You see some of that in Flagler County around, these areas, even in Volusia, Daytona Beach, but up toward like Flagler Beach here. You're getting some rain there. Whenever thunder roars, to go indoors. One lightning strike, that's all it takes. Sadly, as we saw in Volusia County last week, to change lives into life there. Just, a terrible, terrible tragedy about a little over a week ago there in Volusia County. Just awful down to the south of the Vivian Circle. But as we go ahead and continue to look at things here, let's go ahead and keep looking. I know with, everybody having their cell phones and kind of having more maybe weather education, it seems like those lightning numbers have been going down with the fatalities in the state, generally each year, but in the country. But, still, we still have them. And it's still just, when the vote for the blue happened, especially, that makes it just ever, and much more really, tragic there, just awful. As we go ahead and keep looking here, And we're down to 77 degrees. We're used to start getting a little bit of that rain around, not a lot, but we have some lightning still in the vicinity as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things, as we're giving you guys the very latest here on the weather situation. So let me go ahead and keep looking at the scenario here. I know we're on all the different platforms. We were posting a bunch since we weren't in the normal office here per se. We were posting all those alerts, Facebook there and Twitter/X, but now we're back in the office, jumping on here. We would have got on for tornado warnings if they would have appeared. Didn't have any of those. We jumped in once there. We had all those warnings earlier in the week, and I guess there was 70 in Albany the other day, and that was pretty noteworthy there. Yes, other reports as well on that Wednesday, but as we go ahead and continue to look at things here, so there's hot temperatures in Texas, but even toward the Sunshine State, we have some issues here. New warning now to 445, Jacksonville Beach, Neptune Beach, Ponte Vedra Beach. So that's just coming in now. Includes parts of St. Johns County now. So we've seen an extension here because of some of that danger here. And you see that new polygon just popping up there on the screen. So we just need to be very mindful of that. As you look there now to 445, parts of Duval and St. John's, Ponte Vedra Beach, Jacksonville Beach, Neptune Beach, San Pablo, Palm Valley, and Sawgrass here under this warning. Whenever thunder roars, go indoors. Doesn't matter if there's a warning, but we have a warning. It's another opportunity to remind you guys of that electrical danger here and how it can be just so tragic. I see we had a gust there recently now, higher than we've seen even Craigfield to 49 miles an hour. So had one to 45, had one to 42, and we had now one to 49. So these are some pretty strong winds in here. Definitely noteworthy here. Jax Beach and Ponte Vedra. It's time. If you haven't already, you need to get inside. You need to get away from those windows. I mean, as a last resort, you get in that vehicle and close those doors because, that's better than being out in the open in the lightning. But you need to take shelter. This lightning could be deadly. I mean, the wind danger, even if you're in a vehicle, could be deadly. But that lightning, at least it helps to mitigate the risk a little bit if you're inside your vehicle. But it's not the best place ever, but it's better than being out on the beach by yourself where you're that one object there around, not much that is tall right there on the sand. And, that lightning finds that tallest object. And that's how, tallest objects, and that can be so tragic. As we go ahead, we just gotta be careful, gotta watch out. We have this recurrent risk here too. We always have that around Memorial Day. We always have those tragedies that can occur at any time, really. When people are out at the beach, not strong swimmers, even if you don't have them as much, you can still have tragedies. That water is so dangerous, but gotta enjoy things too. I don't mean to just be all gloom and doom here, but it's just about taking the precautions, and then you'll probably be okay. But again, as you go ahead and look at things here, continue to track things. We're just going to go ahead and try to give you guys the latest. I know in Bradford, getting a little bit of lightning just south there of State Road 100, but that doesn't mean that we could have a strike pop up way away from that in this type of situation. Hopefully not, but it's a possibility. So we just got to be very mindful of that here as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here. So I get a new warning to 445 over toward Duval and St. John's. Let me go ahead and see if we have any questions or comments from any of the viewers at home here. Don't see anything so far, but I appreciate everybody tuning in and trusting me here as we're tracking the situation. Let me go ahead and see if we can get some more traffic camera views up here. Let me see what we might have. Okay, still pretty dramatic shots off that I-295 East, south of Beach Boulevard camera. So let me go ahead and pull this on in here on the Florida 511 system. You can see some of the dark skies. You can see some of these dark skies here. Definitely intriguing. Got to be mindful. Whenever that thunder roars, go indoors. Again, giving you this live perspective on things. Where we're at in Bradford, it's not as bad, but we're still watching things very carefully here. Still trying to give you guys the very latest on the situation here. go ahead and see what else we might have here for you guys. We're just trying to zoom on in. Just trying to zoom on in here to keep you guys safe. Keep you guys informed here. I see AJ Watson from Tallahassee there. I'm going to check on over toward Tallahassee and Leon County here with these conditions. Give me just a moment here. I'm going to go ahead and move our Doppler just to kind of see what's going on in that vicinity. As we continue to watch these, we have these warnings toward the East Coast. You have that wind in that brighter red. That can be problematic. So you got to be careful. But even anywhere we have lightning, you know, so dangerous, so potentially deadly. I'm going to go ahead and keep on watching things here. Tallahassee right now looking pretty good here. Let's go to storm total rainfall. And as we look here, let me go to a different mode on this. I know we've had, you know, some of that precip around. This one kind of, sometimes they look a little bit more dramatic. But last 12 hours, you can see here some of these purples, about 2 inches. The lighter purples, a little bit less, but the dark purples, 2.5 inches of rain here. So you just got to be very careful with that. You know, there's ponding, areas there, those low-lying zones here. Just don't want to, have a situation here where, one of those spots you get too much rain too quick, but we really do need the rain overall. So, again, as we see there on Bainbridge, about 2 inches, some of those spots on the east side of town. But now we're not really seeing that precip too much over there. Let's go to some of the forecast guidance here. Let's get into that a little bit. Well, first, before I do that, I want to say there is a risk of some tornadoes as we look here in the country up toward parts of Minnesota later on. Minneapolis, a 5% risk. So let's touch on that real quick. Get a tornado watch up there later on. Down here, it is going to be just that general thunderstorm risk today. But we still have a couple warnings. This is how it is. It's in, it's summertime. So you're not in a situation here where, as you know, in other times of the year, it's always about one day and then always, not always, but normally it's going to be pretty calm, in between here. It's just on and off, on and off. You turn that switch on, you turn it back off day after day. Some days it'll be worse than others. And sometimes you're not going to have the, the outlooks here. I mean, they're a guide, but, they're not quite as maybe important in a way in the summer in Florida and Georgia because every day there's some type of risk unless you're really getting that dry air in there and the lightning risk is around. So I'm going to model up. This is 8 o'clock tonight. You see some stuff here. I'll be back in a couple hours. Okay, 6 o'clock. You see some stuff. It's not as much of coverage today, maybe. But so that's 6, 7, 8. You kind of progress. You see stuff fading overall. You have the current lightning reports and alerts up. You see some stuff even in the morning there. We had some stuff in the Gulf this morning watching, but you see some stuff toward like Dixie and Levy there, even at 5 in the morning. So some of you guys are going out there to the Gulf Coast. Have to be aware of that. See some stuff over there. Sometimes that can kind of help to limit the risk here earlier on, but eventually, as we kind of look here, as we kind of track things overall, we're going to see here some development. Let's just get you through the day. It's not, overwhelming coverage, but it is there. See some more stuff coming in. We had that, area come from east to west the other day. That was so interesting. But this is on Monday. See some storm acts, maybe even early I-75 corridor there, Gainesville, Ocala, but it's in the guarantee. And then they go ahead and kind of progress things some more here. And the Monday afternoon, you see that. But what I want to do in the model, they're going to jump around. We're still early with this, and it's going to be hard to nail down for the 4th of July until we get closer. Real quick, flood advisory for Duval and St. John until 6:30, just being issued. But just watch out for those areas that, those zones that you have the flooding are more likely. Those urban areas that have gotten a little bit more rain, flood-prone areas, you kind of know where you are. But I want to get the 4th of July forecast because we haven't dove into this at all yet. And it's very, very, very important to a lot of folks here. So this is going to be 8 a.m. on the model guidance on the 4th. This is just a GFS. And if we have a tropical area organized one way or the other, that's going to change things. I mean, it could either, depending on where it is, it's really broad. I mean, you know, in the models right now, and too far out there right now because don't really have enough data yet to be able to tell you. This could jump around a lot here, but if we get a consolidated area and it doesn't come toward us, then you get maybe less rain. If you get an area that's more broad and it's around, you get more rain. Consolidated area come toward a certain area, that's a problem here too. Even if it's a depression or a weak tropical storm, which right now, that's about what we're talking about. If we got development, you never know. Still early out. I know we had some stuff in the Pacific models. Some of them didn't handle it well at all, and it became very volatile there toward parts of Mexico, obviously. As we were looking, you know, just looking at things there, tracking things, you know, just always got to be very cognizant of the situation. So just trying to go ahead and give you guys, let us know, you know, Hurricane Eric there is what I'm talking about from the other day. But as we go ahead and continue to give you guys the latest, this is 4th of July, very early look. This is 11 a.m. You already see some showers, maybe, but again, we're almost a week out. Not a lot of confidence in this forecast yet, but it could be an issue. The lightning, again, the warnings, that's current now, but the other stuff is for next Friday, and then by 2 o'clock you see some more development. So, you know, might keep the heat down, but if you have the storms, that's a problem for this outdoor event. Not a guarantee it's going to set up like this. It's kind of an iffy forecast here as we're looking 5 p.m., 8 p.m., 11 p.m. Maybe it clears out in time for fireworks, maybe it doesn't, but you know, 2 a.m., 5 a.m., 8 a.m., 11 on that Saturday, where more events be taking place here. Let's get you to 5 p.m., 8 p.m., 11 p.m. on that Saturday. So we got to continue to monitor the situation here. It's still a little too early to know what could happen with all of that. But let's go ahead and pull up here some of our parameters for today. You don't see much supercell composite. We didn't have to do any parameters really. Instability though, over 3,000 joules per kilogram here in that red. Some days you get over 4,000. That purple stuff on here instead indicating more storm energy. You know, as we look toward up in Pennsylvania and New York State, there's not quite as much, but there's still enough with the overall pattern and the other players in store to have a severe thunderstorm watch in play. It's got to be really cognizant of that, obviously. That could be an issue, you know, for folks. Got a severe thunderstorm warning right now for parts of areas there, and even northeast Pennsylvania, to Bradford County up there. There's a severe thunderstorm warning including it, but not our Bradford here in Florida. You see that severe thunderstorm watch going on for parts of New York State, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia. As we go ahead and continue to watch things here. I know we are watching that flood advisory in areas, and I'm going to go ahead and jump back to the south here now. It looks like we're getting more development near the St. John's here. This indicator just the last few seconds maybe. Getting some development now closer to downtown and to St. John's. So let's see what that looks like on some other modes here. I also want to check that other storm where we have the warning that goes for another 12 minutes. So let's go ahead and check here. I'm going to go ahead and go on over to other mode. Although there's not a flood advisory for parts of Clinton Echoes till 6:30 in Georgia. But you see, the wind doesn't look quite as bad on this now for parts of Duval, which is good. And the St. John's, I don't see a lot of wind here, but there is a little, and there's some lightning. Don't want to be boating right now in St. John's when that thunder is around. That electrical energy, that lightning, that's problematic. As we go ahead and look here towards south central Georgia, we have an advisory around Withers. See some wind up there, maybe on the order of, let's see here, about 40, maybe 50 miles an hour. You know, have a flood advisory up here. Let's look. Some total rain. You see some of that there, toward parts of Echoes there. And, you know, that gets to north part of Clinton County as well. Let me go ahead and just keep looking here. Keep tracking the scenario, obviously. You see Berrien County there. You know, looking at storm total. All that precip up there. As we're looking at things and as we're tracking. And that goes back into last night, though, really. You know, that timeline. That's why I like sometimes to stick on another map, because last 12 hours it wasn't a story, but that goes back further. You see it, you don't have that up in the word areas further north. You know, as they're looking toward like Berrien. As we go ahead and look here and track things, and let me go ahead and see here. I know the current, views in this area, I've had all that storminess near Jack's Beach. Look at the rotation, not a lot, but there's been a little there. Let me go ahead and keep looking at things here. Let's see what we might be able to pull up. We do have some cameras there close to Ponte Vedra Beach. Let's go to the State Road 202 Intracoastal West Cam. Let's go ahead and pull this Florida 501 perspective up. You can see what we're doing with there. That rain on the camera lens and the light here are kind of telling that weather story. So again, worth noting there for sure as we're trying to give you guys the very latest. So again, some dark skies there for sure. Some of that rain, that lightning threat, obviously. Gotta take heed of that there. So again, just continuing to watch that, continuing to give you guys the very latest here on what we're dealing with. It's just important to do. Okay, we just got an update on the warning now. They're going to cancel St. John, then continue Duval until 4:45. Weather service in Jacksonville. You see that polygon? It just got trimmed some. There you go. So we're talking about St. John's canceled, but at 4:36, the severe thunderstorm is located over Ponte Vedra Beach in southeast at 15 miles an hour. So areas around Jack's Beach, Neptune Beach, and San Pablo under this warning. For your protection, move Roy to the interior room on the lowest floor of a building, and torrential rainfall is occurring with the storm and may lead to flash flooding. Do not drive your vehicles through flooded roadways. So important. Very important to keep in mind. So let me go ahead and broaden the view out here. Let's see some of these temperatures. It's always interesting to see where the rain cold air, has really impacted those readings. So 79 Fernandina Beach, 78 there around Mayport, but it's still 95 around Cecil. 82 Gainesville, a little cooler there, but you see at 76 at Valdosta, but 92 at Moody Air Force Base, 92 in Waycross. So that rain is putting a dent, that rain-cooled air, putting a dent in some of these temperatures. That's important to keep in mind, and it's a good thing about these storms because, let's see here, parts of, East Central Mississippi, they're not getting as much of the storminess, and they're not cooling down as much. We had this heat wave here. It kind of, had that storminess come and play on Wednesday, trying to break that. But as we're looking here, we look at the Southwest, they still have that heat in, play for them. I mean, look at that coming in there, Palm Springs, 108 degrees. I mean, it's a drier heat. The heat index doesn't come up because it's a lot drier, but also some severe weather, by the way, in parts of western South Dakota and in North Dakota. So we've had pretty active pattern up in North Dakota lately. But as we kind of look at things here, our heat indexes do show up. Unlike out west, you have that humidity to the air, that drives it up. As we're looking at things, as we're tracking things, that heat and humidity, we use that to try to figure things out there. As we're tracking things, obviously, and so important with all that. Just gotta be mindful of the situations. Let me go ahead and keep looking here and keep tracking things here. I know. Of course, the late George Winterling coming up there with that heat index there. He termed it the humiture. He was on TV in Jacksonville so many years. The heat index so important because, it explains how the weather is around here. He, figured that out there. And then Roy developed that in 1978 and a situation there where, it's important for our local area more than others because you saw how out west you didn't really have the heat index numbers showing up because of that humidity. Though here, it feels warmer, even if maybe technically the temperature is a little cooler. It feels warmer, and those impacts, are about how it feels there to your body more than anything. Not totally, but you know that's really important. That humidity playing that role. It's a big difference between the heat here and the heat in Palm Springs. Even if the temperature's warmer there, the heat index, you know, it's a much bigger storyline here because of how it feels to your skin. So, because the heat index there right now, see, still feels 100, but it won't even pop up out here toward like areas around Palm Springs, for instance. You know, as we're looking at some of these different spots, you know, trying to give you guys the very latest on things. I mean, I'll go ahead and kind of try to give you the latest on some of this here and see the situation. I mean, you look at some of these different spots out here, and I put the actual air temperature on, but as we're kind of looking at things and as we're tracking things here, you see Fresno and all those temperatures are so warm, you know, the air temperature, but not the heat index so much as we're dealing with the situation. So, you know, it's just kind of intriguing to see geographically here, you know, with the overall scenario. It's just kind of something you have to stay on top of here because of the different factors here meteorologically. Of course, the humidity here, we have summertime storms, and we have that rain that comes into play with everything that goes on. It's more desert country out there toward California, obviously. So, you look at some of the different readings here and try to deal with Palm Springs right there, and you see 108 air temperature, but I don't get, you know, in our heat index system, it won't come up because of the dryness here, because the dew point. I mean, look at this. Now here you have 25 for the dew point out there, so dry there. Over here, you have 60s, 70s. It's a lot more moist. As we go ahead and continue to look here, I mean, some of these dew points actually can be a good indicator, not always, but can be an indicator that overnight low sometimes. Also, when you're over 60 in like the springtime, that's an indicator. If you have the other parameters in play with like shear, you know, over 60 with the dew points, that can be something where, you know, severe weather becomes more likely. So again, I'm just going to continue to give you guys the very latest here. That one is probably going to go away soon. Let me look at it, though, in our other modes to make sure. We'll probably wrap it up soon if things continue to go the way they're going here. You see around Withers, we have some wind enhancement in south central to southeast Georgia there. Jacksonville radar, let's pull up. We have that storm around the St. John's. It's kind of strong. Not severe yet. And then we have the one that has the warning. It is weakening some, which is good news. So again, just continuing to give you guys the very latest here on what's going on. So again, just trying to keep you guys informed here on what we're tracking, on what we're following, on what we're monitoring here. So again, so important to do all of that as we're looking here, as we're dealing with things very, very carefully here in toward the weather center. So you're probably going to let this one go. We'll need to watch over here because that's becoming a more predominant area. Let me just check. You see some wind enhancement there on the St. John's. See some stuff here in Volusia. Let's see if that could become an issue closer to home. See some wind there in Osceola as well. Might end up getting a warning down there. We'll have to watch. North of Keensville, south of Holopaw there. And let me go ahead. You see Volusia, some wind enhancement there. And, you know, that area there, the direction on that, well, they kind of, you know, be in the vicinity of Flagler, not necessarily hit it in it. Let me see what else we might need to show you guys here. I know there's some flash flood warnings toward like Missouri and Kentucky today. See some of those green polygons here popping up. See some storms downstate that look pretty nasty. As we're tracking things, it looks like that might need a warning somewhere in there, and that might be a false signature if it's that big. But let's see, bring some development east here of and south of Fort Drum, some development there. They just dropped the one warning here locally. This area here near the St. John's, though, is evolving. We need to watch that. That's near 295 and Jacks as well. So again, we're just continuing to track things here, obviously. And we're just continuing to monitor things here. So I think that's going to wrap it up for now. I thank you so much here for having you guys tune in. I thank you so much for tuning in here. We're going to keep tracking, though. We're going to keep monitoring. I'm going to try to wrap, but this storm is showing some strength in it, it would appear. Let's go to our upscale growth product here. Yeah, I don't see a lot right around that, so that's good at least. How about that area around the Ritter side in Eccles County and Clinton in that vicinity? As we look here, you know, we're watching, we're tracking. We're trying to give you guys the very latest here. Let's go to that. You don't see much. That's good, obviously. I know we're just trying to keep you guys informed. So, and see, you know, we may not necessarily pop back in for more warnings, but, you know, we'll play it by ear, obviously, and see what the impacts are looking like. I know if you have that lighting around, don't have to have a warning for that, but it could still be very impactful. Can, in those isolated instances, be deadly. There's positive strikes, there's quad ground lighting strikes. You can have all those big problems. You just need to be aware of all that. I know you have positive and negative. Positive generally, you know, are those ones, you know, that we're really looking toward here in the meteorological enterprise. The meteorology enterprise here. You know, we're just so concerned about all of those. So, again, I guess that's going to do it for the time being. We're going to wrap it. We hope you guys try to stay safe. Enjoy that weekend here. I know it is summertime. Stay cool. You know, drink plenty of water if you're outdoor for an extended period. If, you know, we have this hotter temperatures in your neighborhood, and those storms can cool things off. We could have the lightning too, but that heat exhaust and heat stroke can be an issue from some of this hotter weather as well. Stay safe, but enjoy things.